she vanished. No goodbye, no final confession, no tear last hug, just gone. Jasmine Pineda, the fire starter of Day Fiancé, happily ever after, didn't walk off stage. She disappeared from America like she'd never existed. And Gino, he was left on that studio couch, blinking like he'd been hit by a freight train. One moment, he was still clinging to hope. The next, he was staring into the empty spot she used to sit in. It wasn't loud. That was the creepy part. No screaming, no scene, just silence sharp enough to cut through concrete. Now, here's the part that isn't in the recap shows or cast interviews. Jasmine didn't just leave Gino. In my opinion, she ghosted the entire franchise. One-way ticket to Panama, radio silence. On social, 0 follow-up episodes, and according to production whispers circling the drain, this wasn't emotional. This was strategic, cold, allegedly premeditated, and maybe, just maybe, more than a breakup. It was her mic drop on a system she says used her image, profited off her pain, and allegedly gave her nothing in return. So, what the hell happened behind the cameras before those stage lights faded? Was Jasmine heartbroken, betrayed, or building up to this all along? And is Gino the innocent man she left behind or part of something messy, eh? Welcome to TLC Drama Files. I'm Oliva. And if you're already gripping your phone like it's the last roses at a tell-all taping, go hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Can you ever truly know someone in this franchise? Especially when most of their love story is hidden behind confessionals, edits, and contracts. Because this ain't just about breakups anymore. This is about a woman who trusted a system, gave it her vulnerability, and allegedly got paid in damage. We're going to unpack why fans and insiders are listing Jasmine's exit as one of the most shocking moments since Danielle crushed Muhammad's ego with her infamous annulment papers. And fair warning, it only gets more gloves off from here. But don't think this entire car crash centers on Jasmine. Oh. No. While she was packing her bags for Panama, Yara was planning an emotional escape of her own, complete with joy. Sitting motionless in stunned silence, trying to process her saying she's done with America. All while Joy started squaring off with Andrei like it was WrestleMania for insecure dads. You think yelling was bad before? Wait till you watch 2 grown men fight about whose parenting style has more testosterone. And then just as people start picking sides, Natalie reappears with the emotional precision of a nuclear strike because why not throw one more grenade at a sofa full of emotionally exhausted couples? But back to Jasmine for a second. What if she wasn't running away? What if she was escaping something all of us missed and the silence wasn't a retreat, but a refusal to play along anymore? We've seen dramatic exits, walk-offs, screaming matches, but we have never seen a disappearance with this many legal, financial, and emotional question marks floating in the air like smoke over a dumpster fire. And before you say, hey, it's just reality TV, be warned this time. There's allegedly money missing, contracts shredded, and deeper scars than what TLC ever aired. The question isn't whether Jasmine left for good. It's whether she ever had a choice. And if she didn't, then who did? It's all connected. And Jasmine's exit that might have only looked like a goodbye. Because what really happened may have never aired. Stay tuned because next we rewind to the final hours. Before Jasmine vanished and why Gino's reaction might be hiding more than heartbreak. Days before Jasmine disappeared, the crew noticed something was different. She wasn't loud. She wasn't fiery. She wasn't fighting with Gino, producers, or anyone within reach. She was quiet, unusually quiet, staring off during setup, skipping hair and makeup checks. At first, they thought she was drained from the tell-all. build up, but the truth, according to a crew member quoted anonymously, was that she had already checked out, and not emotionally, logistically. By the time filming wrapped that weekend, Jasmine had left behind more than her story arc. According to someone she confided in off-screen, Jasmine left a single voicemail before boarding her flight back to Panama. No explosive speech, no bridge-burning text, just a soft message allegedly saying, "They can own my footage, but they will never own my voice. I'm going home." Gino didn't know what to do with that. For a man known more for mismatched hats and nervous breathing than any emotional depth, the breakdown rolled in with a delay. But when it hit hard. The public saw glimpses, him wiping away tears backstage, pacing in his socks, asking producers if he should still wait for her. One crew member told an outlet he sat holding her water bottle after the last segment like she might come back for it. The irony, she never did. And maybe that was the plan. For years, their drama played out like a chaotic soap opera with subtitles. But this time, there were no translations needed. The IG scrub was instant. Jasmine's grid cleared out faster than a fight night on Reddit post gone. Mentions muted. Even longtime page shoutouts vanished into digital air. Fans thought she was rebranding. But insiders speculated something much deeper. Legal silence, contractual fallout, a deliberate removal of her image from any content remotely connected to her time on TLC. Then came the whispers. The word unedited started surfacing across burner fan pages and minor leaks. No context. No platform named, just a title. Plain, direct, and dangerous. A rumored tell. All. Her version, no filters, no wraps. Allegedly laying out everything from missed payments to manipulated story beats. Whether it even exists is still up for debate, but the tension it sparked fully real. And where does that leave Gino online? He looks frozen in time. No big statements, no fiery defense, just kind of stuck. Some say he's heartbroken. Others say embarrassed. But here's the thing. While Jasmine peeled back every layer and walked away, Gino's character stayed parked in place. People started wondering, was he a victim of her escape, or was he protected by the silence she left behind? There's something haunting about how Jasmine left without a final performance. No last jab, no self-defense. She exited the reality machine without trying to rehab her image. That kind of quiet isn't accidental. It's the sound of someone who no longer believes it's worth explaining anything. What if the biggest betrayal wasn't between lovers, but between cast and camera, and Jasmine wasn't leaving Gino at all? She was leaving us. Fans quickly did the math. Gino's confusion seemed passive, but his silence might be strategic. If he really knew nothing, wouldn't he be angrier, more public, more frantic? Instead, he's stuck in this weird limbo of both being the guy left behind and the guy who might have seen it coming. Either Jasmine ran out of love or she realized love was never the full story. And if that's true, then someone out there knew this goodbye was coming. Maybe not Gino. Maybe not fans, but someone holding the contracts definitely did. Up next, how Elizabeth and Lauren's friendship imploded in real time with receipts, betrayal, and the fight that rewrote fan loyalty overnight. At first, it looked like cracks, a skipped call here, a colder than usual hug there. But by the time the leaked messages exploded across group chats and fan pages, it was clear. Elizabeth and Lauren weren't just falling out. They were burning the bridge and lighting the ashes on fire. Here's what triggered the detonation. Screenshots allegedly surfaced of private texts Lauren had sent Elizabeth. Personal venting, nothing unusual until Elizabeth, according to insiders, showed Those exact messages to Andrei. The problem, those messages called Andrei emotionally exhausting. And in one line, Lauren even questioned if Elizabeth was emotionally safe around him. That wasn't drama. That was friendship-ending ammo. Loaded and handed straight to the guy with the biggest mouth on set. Andrei didn't hesitate. He brought it up during filming. Loud, aggressive, and without warning. Lauren was caught off guard. Live on camera being confronted with words she only trusted one person with. The emotional whiplash. Brutal. You could see the fight leave her face mid-scene. Of course, Elizabeth tried to wash her hands, claiming she needed honesty in her marriage and wasn't trying to blow it up. But when you give your husband a friend's private text, you're not choosing honesty, you're choosing sides. The studio tension around them after that moment was palpable. Lauren's usual warm banter turned ice cold. Elizabeth hugged other cast members tighter. Lauren started sitting a beat farther away. And then came the nail in the coffin. The mocking incident at the cast dinner allegedly orchestrated by Elizabeth. According to Yara, Elizabeth told her Lauren had insulted her fashion sense, calling her a wannabe influencer. On camera, Yara confronted Lauren mid-dinner with the quote, Lauren looked stunned, shaken but certain. I never said that, she insisted. Yara believed her. The moment didn't just fracture friendships, it flipped audience sympathy in real time. Because above all else, Lauren looked like someone trying to keep it together. Elizabeth, meanwhile, seemed strategic. Calculated, and that's when keyboard detectives lit up Reddit with the biggest accusation of all, gaslighting. Was Elizabeth manipulating behind the scenes? Were these moments edited to throw off the scent, or was she stuck between defending her fragile ego and her explosive husband? Andrei certainly didn't help. Every time Elizabeth faced pushback, he jumped in like a bouncer with a Reddit username. Screaming. Shutting down conversations, playing protector when no one asked. Was he really defending his wife or steamrolling any truth she couldn't speak out loud? Lauren's pain wasn't explosive. It was controlled, measured, real, and that made it all the more powerful. When she finally confronted Elizabeth publicly with a shaking voice and tears she tried to swallow, you could feel the room shift. Even Yara looked away. The silence after Lauren said, "You made me think I was going crazy," was louder than any Andrei outburst. But what if this wasn't just about one friendship? What if this fallout exposed a chain reaction built on small betrayals, whispered half-truths, and years of quiet competition finally boiling over? Because here's what makes this feud hit so hard. It wasn't built on one fight. It was built on years of I'm fine, silent distance, and pretending jealousy wasn't real. Elizabeth and Lawrence started as the emotional reset in a cast full of volatility. By the end, they were the main event, and the fans weren't just watching anymore. They were choosing teams. Yara takes the spotlight and shocks the entire set with a decision that redefines what love, home, and sacrifice look like when the cameras stop rolling. It started with a quiet breath. Yara held it in for a half second too long before answering Sean's question. "You seem distant lately. What's going on with you and Joy?" she asked gently. Yara didn't flinch. She didn't stall. With her hands trembling under her lap and a stare fixed just slightly above Joy's shoulder, she dropped it. "The bomb. I'm going back to Ukraine." Joy blinked like he'd misheard. Everyone else fell completely silent. No dramatic score, no whispering castmates. Even Andrei stopped flexing for a second. Yara's words landed with the kind of stillness that only comes when someone says something so real, so raw that no one knows where to look. No build-up, no recaps, no lead-in storyline preparing us for this. It wasn't some slick reveal to build tension. It was a woman collapsing inward, telling the truth she'd been holding in for too long. And by the time she added, "I've already made plans," Joy's face cracked. The man who always had some comeback, some smart response, some drunken defense. This time he had nothing you could see. It hit him in waves. First shock, then panic, then something heavier. Helplessness. His voice dropped. "Are you taking our daughter? Are you leaving me?" Yara looked down. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to save myself." This was way bigger than a fight over parenting or emotional availability or even screen time. This wasn't about Joy falling short. This was about Yara feeling like she disappeared slowly inside his world. A world that cheered when she smiled for filters, but didn't ask how it felt when her last phone call with her mother was cut short by sirens halfway across the world. She missed home. Real home. The one daylight savings time doesn't touch. The one not lit with ring lights. The one where her people are still sleeping in basement and hiding in silence. And here she was smiling for fans while quietly unraveling under the pressure of performance and absence. So maybe the real question isn't why she left on camera, but how many nights she stayed silent off camera before it finally broke her. Joy, to his credit, didn't blow up. He didn't storm off. But his numbness said everything. You could hear his voice crack through clenched teeth. "Just tell me you're not doing this for the show." She wasn't. And that's what made it hurt so much more. She didn't cry loudly. She didn't beg for sympathy. She just folded her hands, stared down at them like they held answers her heart didn't, and whispered, "I need to feel like a human again, Joy. I don't hear. Is leaving someone ever the most loyal thing you can do, especially when staying would mean losing yourself completely?" The silence that followed Yara's moment didn't sound like closure. It sounded like the first goodbye that came without anger. We step into the most toxic clash of the season. Joy throws down with Andrei in a showdown where family tension, fragile masculinity, and camera-perfect egos explode into something none of us were ready for. It didn't take long. One sarcastic dig about parenting and suddenly Joy and Andrei were nose-to-nose in a verbal chest bump with the intensity of two guys who'd probably never been told you don't always have to be right in their entire lives. It started off simple enough. Sean asked about how fatherhood had changed them. Joy admitted it was harder than he thought. Andrei, never missing a chance to assert moral superiority, cut in with that thick sarcasm. "Maybe don't party like a frat boy and then complain it's hard." Boom. Joy's ego lit up like a barbecue grill. And from there, it disintegrated faster than one of Angela's impulse weddings. What made this fight different from the usual screaming matches was that neither of them was wrong. But neither of them was actually listening. For Andrei, his playbook never changes. Deflect. Dominate, deny. He positions himself as the only real man in the room, talks over anyone who questions him, and uses aggression like armor. Even when no one's holding a weapon, he doesn't argue to understand. He argues to establish order. And in his mind, fatherhood isn't a role. It's a battleground. But Joy, he walked into the studio already wounded. The man just watched his wife emotionally check out of their marriage on national TV. He was desperate for 1 ounce of dignity and stability. And instead, he got grilled by a guy who treats emotional vulnerability like a virus. And that's where Joy's blind spot came in. When he lashed out at Andrei, it wasn't just about defending his pride. It was about pretending for minutes that he still had something worth defending. Maybe he wasn't standing up for Yara. Maybe he was trying to prove loudly that he still belonged in the conversation, still mattered, still had control over something, anything. After the way Yara left him stunned on that couch, but the shouting didn't fix his marriage. The pride didn't mend his broken listening skills. And by the end of it, both men looked like what they were. Scared dads using volume to mask fear. Not every family man knows how to protect peace. Some only know how to win. Producers said security was watching from the wings during that segment. It wasn't for ratings. It was because the tension was that real. At one point, Joy even whispered something you could barely hear. "I'm done being looked at like I'm not enough." Andrei didn't hear him. Or maybe he did and chose not to respond. Because if there's one thing Andrei can't allow, it's vulnerability in other men. Makes him have to look at his own. The masks come all the way off. Jasmine's rumored war with TLC, that missing dollar comma, and a still vanished Tell project that threatens to take the whole damn franchise down. You know how reality TV always ends with someone crying backstage, clutching tissues, and whispering, "I didn't sign up for this." Well, Jasmine allegedly meant that. Literally, because behind all the screaming, ugly crying, and made-for-Instagram chaos, there's another story line. The cameras never aired, one involving contracts, control, and if the noise is even half true, a mountain of unpaid value. According to multiple anonymous sources close to production, Jasmine allegedly discovered after filming that TLC had earned around $1 on branded content, digital shorts, and online clips directly tied to her image, commentary, and storyline. Money she never saw. Now, to be clear, we're not claiming Jasmine was promised anything publicly or on paper, but insiders suggest she believed she was part of a new internal bonus structure, something TLC reportedly floated to certain cast members as incentive, a kind of behind-scenes loyalty reward for higher-forming story arcs. And if that system existed, Jasmine had reason to believe she'd earned her cut. But disclosure never came. The receipts never landed. And Jasmine, already emotionally raw from carrying her segment emotionally for 2 seasons straight, allegedly felt not just heartbroken, but used. Then came the silence, and her Instagram went from daily chaos to radio static. Brand deals vanished. Comments turned off. Even previously scheduled content clippings disappeared from TLC's official pages. Fans started asking questions. Others started digging. And that's when a new word started surfacing in whispers and burner accounts alike, unedited. Nobody fully knows if it's a book, a doc, a legal leak, or some brain-burning combo of all three. But what keeps showing up in quiet online threads and traceable metadata mirrors a disturbing trend. A few cast members, past and present, allegedly reaching out to support Jasmine's version of things. And that's where TLC, according to insiders, got spooked. If unedited, even half exists. And if it includes what fans say it might, emails, uncut scenes, breakdowns about pay structures, withheld bonuses. It could mark the first public unmasking of how the franchise actually protects itself, especially when its breakout stars stop being cooperative. And Jasmine wasn't the first to feel this shift. Let's not forget those quieter exits over the years. The couples who left mid-season, the individuals whose storylines were wrapped early or who began disappearing from promotional assets before any announcement. What do they all have in common? Most didn't toe the party line. The editing patterns are subtle but telling. Cast members who become unpredictable stop getting storyline closure. The narrative pivots. Their scenes lose emotional nuance backed with over-exaggerated score and shaky cam footage. Their dialogue gets clipped around pauses, suddenly making them seem irrational or overdramatic. Fans have spotted this for years but lacked the smoking gun. But if Jasmine actually compiled her texts, contracts, or internal emails, if she kept journal entries or screenshots, the kind people start collecting when they know something's off, then this goes beyond gossip. And maybe that's why the silence around her now feels so loud. According to one insider, TLC allegedly began restructuring its digital licensing agreements as soon as Jasmine went dark. Language in newer versions of contracts reportedly shuts down the use of cast images unless approved post-filming. A detail that might sound legal, but in context sounds like panic-proofing. And while TLC has not issued any public comment on Jasmine's situation, fans aren't staying quiet. The hashtags Dragger Justice for Jasmine and TLC Exposed started trending within hours of her disappearing from American screens. Twitter threads dissected her final scenes. Reddit posts tracked deleted Insta content. TikTok remixes spliced in theories with side-by-side audio comparisons claiming her breakdowns had been selectively edited for drama. This isn't about one breakup anymore or even a messy exit. This is about the curtain slipping. It's viewers saying, wait, what else have we been watching wrong? Now, is it possible Jasmine simply needed to unplug? Sure. Is it possible she didn't get offered that money and it's all misunderstanding? Yes. And is it risky to go up against the network machine that made you? Absolutely. But something shifted when Jasmine didn't correct the rumors, didn't soften the headlines, didn't respond to Gino. Because silence is a powerful move in a world built on exposure. You don't go quiet unless you're done playing. What happens when the star stops acting and starts resisting? Because here's what most networks never count on. Reality stars burn out. Flame out. Maybe write a shady tell-all with some vague anecdotes and cash out. But repression, pattern, exposure, paper trails, names, encouragement from other cast members. Still under NDA, that's different. That's not someone looking for revenge. That's someone building something bigger than another season. And while TLC might survive the Jasmine blackout, what happens if other stars start showing support? Or if Jasmine's tell-all becomes something fans can't ignore, or worse, something other cast members start to validate? We've seen messy. We've watched cheating scandals, walk-offs, stage drama, even cancelled weddings. But if this script is real, if unedited becomes a movement, not a moment, this isn't just a cast shakeup. It's the kind of truth bomb that turns a franchise into fallout. Stick around. Because in the final act, we dig into the massive shift in fan loyalty, who TLC may be quietly freezing out, and whether Jasmine's silence has already changed the show more than any blow-up ever could. The fallout did not arrive in a straight line. It rolled through comment sections, then Reddit threads, then recap channels until it felt like the whole fanbase had turned into detectives with timelines and receipts. Sympathy swung fast. People who once called Lauren too sensitive started saying she looked like the only honest person on that stage. The tag team shifted to Team Lauren. Another wave pressed on cancel Elizabeth. Others called out gaslighting patterns. It was not just noise. It was a reframe of who gets believed in this universe and why Elizabeth tried to keep her posture. Neutral captions, polished photos, a soft smile that told the world she was fine. Fans did not buy it. They pointed out how her post felt detached while the feud with Lauren still simmered. The harder Andrei barked, the colder the reaction got. Viewers were not rating who yelled better. They were asking which actions matched the facts we saw. Lauren's story was messy, but it aligned with what played out on screen. Trust. Then betrayal. Private words shared in the wrong place. A friend turned into an opponent. That is a straight line you can follow. Jasmine, meanwhile, said nothing. No live, no apology to her, no podcast. And the silence got louder than any tell-all speech. Her absence reshaped the season without a single new clip. You felt it in how other cast stories landed. You felt it in how fans began tracking edits, cutaways, and sound cues. People stopped debating only romance. They began questioning the product itself, not to cancel it, but to understand who was pulling which strings and when. The moment the audience starts tracking the edit, the story is no longer in the network's hands. For Lauren, the heartbreak had a double edge. She lost a friend in public, then had to defend her reality to millions. That kind of damage lingers. The fix is slow. She poured energy into family and mental health awareness. People connected with that because it reflected the woman we saw for years. No facade, no victory lap, just honest recovery. Whether you like her or not, you saw a person trying to heal without turning it into a performance. Elizabeth faced a different storm. Public anger is one thing. A trust collapse is another. The post that once felt relatable now read as strategic. Fans began linking her choices to Andrei's aggression. Was she fueling him? Was she pressured by him? Was she trying to look strong while feeling cornered? You could argue any of those and find clips that support each version, which is why the feud kept catching fire. Everyone could see their own history in it. A friend who kept you close, then cut you open in the worst moment. A partner who speaks over you until you forget your own voice. A group that rewards whoever keeps the fight loud. Joy looked like a man out of place. He stood up for himself. He swung at Andrei. He tried to hold the center while his marriage split on stage. Then he watched the conversation move on without him. That is the hidden cost of public heartbreak. You get a big scene, then the episode ends. The next clip is someone else's crisis. You go home with the echo. You sleep next to it. You wake up to it. And you have to hold it in your chest while the audience debates if it was real enough. Jasmine's impact kept growing. While she stayed off the grid, creators tracked the sudden blackout of branded snippets that used her face. Longtime viewers pulled up side-by-side edits and argued about continuity. Insiders suggested the network tightened rules behind the scenes. None of this was confirmed by official statements. The silence invited theories. The silence also looked like leverage. Walk away. Say nothing. Watch the story adjust. When a star stops talking, she forces everyone else to explain her choices for her. And that is a different kind of power. Fans also began to revisit earlier exits with fresh eyes. Couples who faded early, storylines that felt rushed, scenes that got chopped mid-beat. The pattern looked familiar. Reward what sells. Limit what challenges the machine. Viewers are not naive. They know editing shapes stories. The question is where shaping becomes bending. And where bending becomes breaking, the bigger picture hurts more than the headlines. Everyone came to the show trying to build something, a family, a platform, a future. Lauren wanted support and friendship. Elizabeth wanted protection and respect. Yara wanted home and stability in a new country. Joy wanted the family he never imagined he could have. Gina wanted love to cancel out his awkwardness. Jasmine wanted a new life to match the size of her heart. Most of them are leaving with something different. Pieces in new shapes. A kind of peace you only find after a hard goodbye. A public scar that never fully fades. It is tempting to crown villains to say Elizabeth was the architect, Andrei the hammer, Lauren the target. It is easy to call Joy reckless and Andrei controlling. It is even easier to call Jasmine selfish for leaving or cunning for staying quiet. The truth is more human than that. Fear drives choices. Identity loss drives choices. Money pressure, online hate, culture shock, all drive choices. Reality TV magnifies each one. It hands you a mic and tells you to speak up while you are drowning. This is the circle that closes. The season. The romance machine met resistance. The narrative fought back. The fans pushed harder. And in the middle of that tug-of-war sat real people making decisions that make sense when you consider the cost of being watched non-stop. So we return to where we started. Jasmine's disappearance. Was she the one who broke the show or the one who healed herself? Maybe both are true. Maybe she pulled a thread the show hoped would hold forever. Maybe she drew a boundary so bright that other cast members finally saw their own. Maybe she was not running from love at all. Maybe she was running toward a voice that the franchise could not remix. Andrei still flexes when challenged. Joy still searches for the right words. Lauren still rebuilds. Elizabeth still recalibrates. Yara still follows what feels like home. Gino still waits. The cameras may keep rolling, but the audience no longer watches with the same eyes. You learned how this sausage gets made. And once you learn, you never taste it the same way again. The empire did not fall. It cracked. Those lines will decide what the next season looks like. Not from a production memo. From the people who watch and the people who refuse to act on command. That is the shift. Not louder drama, smarter viewers, bigger stakes for truth, a smaller stage for shame. If the system rewards chaos, what happens when the cast refuses to be chaotic on cue? So, where does this leave us? With unfinished business? With questions that no finale can answer in one reunion? With a woman who left without a monologue? With a man who took all the blame without saying much at all? With a friendship that ended before either person could say face? With a marriage that could survive long distance but not long silence? You stayed until the end because you felt the pull under the spectacle. The human cost, the private ache, the rare moments. When someone stopped acting and started telling their truth. That is why this season mattered. Not because of the yelling, because of the quiet. Now the next beat waits off camera. Will Jasmine break her silence? Will Gino finally tell his full side? Will the network address the rumors that refuse to fade? That is where we go next. Up next on TLC Drama Files, I am dropping the breakdown of Jasmine's fallout and the clips from Gino's final sit-down that did not make the air. And trust me, once you hear what was asked off camera, you will never look at their last episode the same way.